Hello, this is Bill Webb, aka Bill Indiana, and this is my first 3x3x3 review video. In these review videos, I'll be giving you 3 things that I like about a game, 3 things that I either didn't like or think other players might not enjoy about the game, and then give you 3 other games that you might enjoy if you like this style. And for this 3x3x3 review, we're going to take a look at Viticulture Essential Edition by Jamey Stegmaier and Stonemaier Games. So let's see what this game has to offer. Well, what you can see here is the Game of Viticulture Essential Edition. I've got it set up. I just completed a game against the Automa using the aggressive variant. So if you'd like to check out that video and see how that variant works, that's posted on my channel as well. This game is one that you are building, running, operating, and trying to economize a vineyard. And so the basic flow of the game is that you are going to follow the directions on the board here. The spring, you're going to choose a wake-up position when your workers will wake up and go to work. And there are various benefits and bonuses of choosing when you wake up. And it also determines which players go in which order. So the further down you go, you might be getting a bonus you really like, but you're not going to go as early in turn order. And then in the summer, you're going to place workers on the summer side of the board, which is over here where we see all these yellow circles. And you gain different opportunities for your workers to accomplish things in the summer, like building a structure or giving a tour, drawing vine cards that you can plant in your fields, playing visitor cards from the summer visitors, selling a field or selling grapes, or planting those vines. And so those are the opportunities you could have in the summer. And then fall rolls around and you get to draw a visitor card. And we have summer visitors and winter visitors, these yellow and blue cards, and you'll choose one and draw that. And then winter comes along and you're going to play over here on this side of the board in these bluish purple colored spots where you can draw a wine order card to see who might be putting in an order for you to fill. Play one of these blue winter visitor cards, harvest the grapes from the fields you planted in the summer, make wines from those harvested grapes, fill the orders that you've gathered, train more workers so you can have a larger staff, or gaining a coin. And you can actually do this gaining a coin at any point in the game. And then down here across the bottom, we have our track of victory points. You're trying to build your reputation as the greatest vineyard in the land. The other cards that you see at the top here are these vine cards, and these tell you what kinds of vines you can grow in your fields. And then these purple cards are the order cards that tell you what the people are wanting to buy from your vineyard. All right. So that's a quick overview of the idea behind the game. Every player will have their own player board. Since I was playing it solo, I just have my own player board here. And you start with 3 fields of varying values, and you can sell the field if you want to rent out the land for someone else to use to make money. And you plant your vines in here so that you can determine which kind of grapes. So in this game, I planted a couple of different white grapes in this field and some red grapes in this field. And other things you see in this player board, we've got a windmill here, which if you have invested in a windmill, that allows you to gain victory points or reputation every time you plant vines. And then there's a trellis and an irrigation system that help you plant different kinds of vines. And those are indicated in the corner of these vine cards. So for instance, this one has both a trellis and an irrigation symbol, meaning I have to have both of those built before I can even plant those grapes. There's a yoke here that you can build so that you have an extra opportunity to harvest fields. And then this is just where you keep your workers. You can build a table for your tasting room where you can gain victory points when you give tours. You can build a cottage, which allows you to draw more visitors in because they're going to come stay in your cottage. You've got your crush pad where you keep the grapes that you harvest from the field. And then you've got your wine cellars where you convert those grapes into the different kinds of wine. And your whole goal is just to kind of get that economy going of planting the grapes, harvesting the grapes, making the wine, and filling the orders to move up the victory point chart and beat the other players, or beat the Automa if you play solo. All right, so what are the 3 things that I like about Viticulture Essential Edition? Well, first, it's a pretty easy game to learn. There's a lot going on, as you can see. There's a lot to think about. So I would say it is not necessarily an easy game to get great at. But I was able to teach my wife in just a few minutes how to play the game. And the very first game, while it wasn't maybe the most efficient game that she'll ever play, she actually did quite well and knew what to do and didn't really suffer from too much analysis paralysis even in her first game. Part of the ease of learning this game is the second reason that I really love Viticulture, and that is that the board tells you what to do. And it's not just laden with text, but you've got this nice summary of everything you need to do in each season. And the words that are here, while few, help you understand exactly what to do when you choose those options. And same on the player board. There's just enough words to tell you exactly what you need to do. So once you've read the rules and understand the game, I think I've only had to look back at the rules a couple of times. The board pretty much tells you everything. And so not only is it pretty easy to learn, you don't have to memorize a lot of things. And so you can, once you've played it once or twice, the board pretty much tells you what to do. So that's the second thing I really loved about Viticulture. The third thing is that it is a unique theme. It's the only game that I have that's about making wine and developing a winery and developing your vineyards. So it's a unique theme, and it is beautiful. The art, I believe, is by Beth Sobel. Great art. It's just attractive, it's calming, it's peaceful. And I found that when I play with two players, I've only played it solo and with two players, but when I played with two players, I found it even more relaxing. Just taking our time, going through, developing our vineyards, and going along. It was a very relaxing, fun game. I think the art kind of gives you that relaxing feel as well. So those are the three main things I liked about Viticulture. Now, those aren't the only three things, but those are three things I'd like to highlight. Now, what are some things that I think either I didn't enjoy or I could see other players not enjoying? I could see other players maybe not appreciating the slow grind to sort of build up. The first couple of times I played, I actually felt that as well, especially because I was playing solo. And in the solo modes, you have to be very efficient and you have to be pretty quick, because in the regular solo mode, you have to accomplish everything in 7 years. And so if you have a bad year, it's going to be very difficult for you to win. And it's difficult to have a good year 7 years in a row. And so I could see where that slow grind, you just feel like you're not getting enough done in those first few years because you have to get so many things done initially. If you draw a vine that has to have both irrigation and a trellis, it may take you a couple years before you can even plant the vine. And then by the time you can plant the vine, now you only have a few years left to start to turn that into wine, harvest and turn into wine. So I could see how that slow grind might bother some players, where there are some other games where just from the get-go, you feel like you're just flooding with resources. This one's not that way. But if you appreciate it, and again, I didn't feel it so much in the multiplayer. It was mostly the solo that kind of made that tough. In the multiplayer, it didn't feel as urgent because we both were going to have some rounds that went well and some rounds that didn't. So that's one thing, that slow grind. You have to be patient and be planning what you're going to do and also be flexible with your plans. The second thing is there is some luck involved. So like I said, if you draw a vine card that needs both a trellis and an irrigation system, it may be a long time before you can plant those vines. And there's only a few ways you can get vines, and you only have a few workers to start out with. So it may be difficult to get just what you need, whereas the other player or the automa, if you're playing solo, they might get exactly what they need for the automa to block you, or for the other player, they might get the vines just what they needed. They might get the wine orders just like they needed. They might get the visitors to come just what they needed. And you may feel like every time you draw a card, it's not what you needed. It's something that you can't fulfill. It's something that you can't accomplish. And so there is some luck in that drawing of the cards, where there's a lot of ways to mitigate it to some degree, but sometimes you just get a few turns in a row where those cards just don't fit what you need to do, and there's not much you can do to make them work together. Again, I didn't notice it as much in multiplayer, but in solo that was really tough. So I could see some people feeling like there's a little bit too much luck in those card draws. And then the third thing is, if you like the more solitaire kind of thing where you're just building your own area and you're not really worrying about other people, you may not appreciate the competition for spots here. And I've only played it solo and 2 players, so I'm not sure how it feels at 3 and 4. In this time of pretty strict quarantining, I haven't been able to play with more than 2 people, but there is only one spot to go, and you have one grande worker that can overcome that. But there's that competition where, I really needed to do that, and now I can't. And you just feel like that whole year you sort of lost. And so if that would bother you, if losing that and you want to stick with the plan and build your plan and kind of have a solo or solitaire feel to the way you play, that might not be something that fits well for you. So those are 3 things I could see some players not enjoying. In summary of all of those things, though, for me personally, I really do enjoy the solo mode. It is very challenging, especially the aggressive variant. but it's also one that forces you to economize and to really dig into the ways that things synergize in the game, and I really liked that. I also, multiplayer, liked it even better. I found it even more relaxing and just a great game. And while the first couple times some of those things did bother me, I'm not the kind of player that they bother me in the big picture. And so this game is definitely one that I rate quite highly and will definitely be keeping in my collection. Also look forward to investing in the Tuscany expansion, as I've heard that makes it an even greater game. So this would rate really high for me, but I think it will become even better with that expansion from everything that I've read and heard. Now, what are some other games, if you like this style of game, or if this sort of game sounds fun, but maybe the viticulture wine building theme doesn't really strike you? Some other games you could consider. If you like more of an aggressive player interaction where you're not just blocking spots, but have the opportunity to do some other aggressive moves, you might want to try Architects of the West Kingdom by Garphill Games, or maybe you'll want to try Lords of Waterdeep. Those are two worker placement games that have more aggressive player interaction, but also have this great worker placement engine building system. If you like a game that has this kind of feel but is a completely different genre, maybe try Pan Am by Ravensburger. Pan Am is a game that came out this last year, and instead of building a vineyard wine company, you're actually building a small airline company and trying to sort of compete with Pan Am and sort of invest in Pan Am. So it's a really neat economic game and management with worker placement. So there is still that competition for where you place your workers, and it still has that sort of economy feel to it, but with a very different theme. And the third game that you might choose, actually it's 4 games, I guess, but the third kind of game, if you like worker placement but you want a little twist, Marco Polo is one that has a twist where instead of placing meeples as workers, you're actually placing dice. And the value on the dice often affects what you can do when you place it. There's a little bit of a twist there if you want to try something just a bit different. So hopefully this video has been helpful for you to learn a little bit about viticulture, what I think people will like, what I think people may not like, and some other games that might interest you if you enjoy this style of worker placement game. If you've enjoyed the video, I'd love it if you'd click on that like button down below, and it would be great if you'd subscribe to the channel. If you have comments, questions for me, leave them down below. I'd be glad to answer your questions. If you have played viticulture and want to tell me what you like and didn't like, or other games that you would compare, leave those comments down below as well. I look forward to reading them. As always, thanks for watching. This is Billy, Indiana, signing off.